Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky. I'm back with my plans and pans. This week, building on the $13.6 billion that Congress has appropriated for help with Ukraine. We also passed the Ukraine Democracy Defense Lend-Lease Act. What this does is provide further authorization for the President of the United States to lend or lease more military equipment or other supplies to Ukraine. This is a very meaningful move. And we've also seen action by the UK, the United Kingdom, to send an additional 8,000 troops to help out with NATO. And the president also asked Congress to also authorize another $33 billion in aid to Ukraine. I expect that that's going to happen because there has been incredible bipartisan support. As you know, the war is not going well for Russia right now, but I also attended a exhibit of photos from what's happening in Ukraine, and they, of course, are really heartbreaking. You know, we're seeing bodies, we're seeing parents bent over a child that they have lost. The kind of war crimes that we're seeing, unfortunately, persist right now. So we have to do all that we can to help. This week was what we call Yom HaShoah, the day of remembrance of the 6 million Jews who were annihilated during the Holocaust. I went to a memorial to acknowledge that day. They had incredible speakers, one gentleman of 97 years old who had talked about being able to escape with his family to the United States before they were annihilated. But then he served in the military, and because he could speak German, he was in an intelligence division and played a very important role in World War II. There are about 80,000 still living Holocaust survivors, about 5,000 in the Chicago area, and as you know, that in Skokie, Illinois, we've had one of the largest concentrations. But of course, those numbers are going down, and that's why it's so important for us to keep remembering the slogan that says, "Never forget." We need to continue to tell the story of the Holocaust, and I think we are reminded now every day watching what's going on in Ukraine. Also, last week, there was an incredible event in Glenview that was organized by Cook County Commissioner Scott Britton. It was really fantastic. There was, I think, to many of us, just a surprising turnout from the community. Given it was fairly short notice of this event, I would say maybe 200 people showed up at this event. Tony Prockwinkel, the president of the Cook County Board, was there, and the Cook County Board has a project going, Stand Against Hate. But this was particularly focusing on antisemitism because there has been a real uptick, and an uptick in the Chicago suburbs, including Glenview. There were on driveways held down in little plastic bags with rice to hold them in the driveways, pictures of Jews, and the issue was that Jews are taking over the Biden administration. They're everywhere. You know, you've heard the old tropes. But there were also pictures of myself and Brad Schneider and the Governor Pritzker, had our faces had been on some of those that were in the driveways. So this kind of personal targeting, of course, is disheartening, but we know that there has been a pretty dramatic increase right now. Laura Fine, by the way, the state senator from that area, she had her face on one of these terrible flyers. And so the community really gathered, and it was a very wonderful outpouring of support against anti-Semitism. This week, actually on Sunday, May 1st, it is Heat Stroke Prevention Day. And to really mark that, I had a press conference with an organization called Kids and Cars to really celebrate the passage of my legislation as part of the Infrastructure and Jobs Act that would actually try and prevent what we call hot car deaths. Between 1990 and today, about 1,000 children have perished from heat stroke in hot cars. And very often they are left by their parents. And it's very easy to condemn the parents. Oh, that could never happen to me. But on this press conference that we did, we had a physician who is an expert in how the brain works. And he was talking about how often our brain goes into really autopilot. And let's say one of the parents now who doesn't normally take the child to the daycare, take an infant or toddler, just drives along. You've been there. Your car pretty much automatically turns you toward work, toward the store, back home, and you're not thinking about what's going on in the back seat. And unfortunately, it doesn't take a lot of time. Really, you don't even want to go into a store to do any shopping, especially you could be distracted by a friend that you see and you start chatting. You want to always remove a child from that back seat. And often they fall asleep and you don't even hear anything. And so we know that in our cars, that there are all kinds of bells and whistles that warn you about this and that. And so finally, we are making progress and getting in the legislation that all new cars, and it's going to take a while to make sure that technology, which by the way is pretty cheap and available to get in all new cars, that will alert you to that you need to check the back seat. We also, though, even beyond an alert, would like something that's more specific, that has a sensor in the back seat so that it shows you actually about the back seat itself. And the Department of Transportation and the National Highway Transportation Safety Board is going to be developing the rules. We are encouraging, along with all the advocacy groups, and actually with all the parents that have had the courage to come and talk about the tragedy that they faced, the guilt that they feel, and the what they don't want any other family to experience. We want the government to hurry up and get this done. So we're getting into the warmer season, but it could happen even in cars that aren't so hot, 70 degrees, etc. So that's why we're marking a heat stroke day to just remind you that this is the season. Also, I've been getting out and about because, we were back in the district for a couple of weeks, and it's just so wonderful to see people in person. So among other things, I went to the incredible YWCA in Evanston and their domestic violence shelter and support services that they offer. They serve around 250 women every year, And I was able to provide through my community project funding about $450,000 to the shelter. They do fabulous work in what is now really an incredible facility. I also got to go to Meals on Wheels in Evanston, the wonderful, wonderful building that out of which 300 meals a day go out, and the incredible executive director, Debbie Morganfield, who allowed me to go with her and actually deliver a meal to a recipient in Evanston, right near there. But they go all the way to the Wisconsin border. So their turf in delivering meals is very, very large. They have vans that go out and make sure that the meals that are actually cooked in place at Meals on Wheels in Evanston, and often targeted specifically to a menu that serves individual people who need specific help. So, or specific ingredients in their meals. So I went to this home. The gentleman was very happy to see me. He happened to be, because of it's a sliding scale of payment, paying full price, which was $8 a meal. That's pretty reasonable, and downward from there for people who need it. Think about it. I often say that yes, we are the wealthiest nation in the world, and still there are plenty of people that need help. And by the way, grandparents who are taking care of grandchildren, there are also meals when they know about that are included for the kids as well. So it was very, very thrilling to see firsthand what Meals on Wheels is doing. There's a pretty raging debate going on what is called Title 42. This is an immigration policy, but it's really a relic, I would say a xenophobic and racist relic of the last administration, where the Centers for Disease Control, and that was controversial even at the time, said that because of COVID, we shouldn't let people come across the border, even those who are legitimately and legally seeking asylum. And as a consequence, there has, yes, indeed, been a crowding at the border. The President of the United States has said that this is based on information from the medical community, based on science, and based on what the Centers for Disease Control is saying unequivocally right now. We do not need to do this in order to protect against COVID. This has been used really as an excuse to prevent people who are legally allowed to come across. So Title 42, President has recommended be ended. It was supposed to end right, pretty soon. But there's been a lawsuit that has held that up. But I was in a press conference with a number, including Chuy Garcia, a number of representatives, saying that we encourage the president to go ahead and end this very discriminatory and unfair and harmful program. Wanted to end as usual with some remarks about the coronavirus. You should know that Moderna, the company that has made vaccines, is now seeking authorization for children 6 and under. I know that's of great interest to families. We understand that Pfizer is considering that. We may have to wait until both of them are ready. But anyway, it's all in the works for kids 6 and under. The CDC reports now that 1/2 of Americans have been infected with the coronavirus. And that includes, they project, 75% of children. Now, in the Chicago area, in Chicago actually itself, we've seen a 25% increase in the virus. But the good news is that hospitalizations are at 5%, which is a very low amount, and deaths are at an all-time low. There's only been one death in the Chicago area in recent days. So, we're doing better in terms of severity, but we are seeing an uptick. I definitely know friends and family who, have been testing positive, fortunately not very sick. Again, I was on the airplane. I think I told you last week I was concerned. When I got to the airport on Tuesday, it was packed to the gills, and I would say maybe about 5% of people were wearing masks, a little bit more on the plane itself. People are being recommended that when you get on the plane and get off the plane, those are the most vulnerable times. You might want to be wearing a mask. I wore mine the whole time. But it does seem that the severity of COVID-19 has not been deadly, and that's good news. And finally, this is the end of Ramadan, the month-long fasting in the Muslim community. And once again, I want to wish that community a blessed Eid, marking the last day, the end of Ramadan. I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.